Hey y'all, before we get into the Ranger Guide, I just want to take a brief moment to thank the sponsor for today's video, Loremaster.io. Now I'm going to be honest with you guys, I have tried so many different campaign organizers on the market, all the big ones, all the small ones, and overall, they've never quite done it for me. But Loremaster.io has done it so well that it is just understandable enough with a clean user interface without making it super overly complicated with 50,000 tabs. Loremaster.io is an amazing campaign organizer in closed beta right now, and they have open beta access to all of their Patreon pledges. One of the big features that Loremaster loves to brag about is their story canvas. This is a massive spreadsheet of icons and names that can connect everything in your campaign. From shops, inside of cities, inside of countries, inside of continents. You can organize it by world, you can organize it by character, you can organize it however you want and lay it out in this wonderful, clickable, linked grid that can take you to whatever information page you might be looking for. Or if you're like me and looking for a more minimalist organization style, the lore pages are all you need. They have a wonderful organized sidebar where you can organize things by character, location, world, anything you need like that, and then click and make sub pages. That's where I organize all my characters, all my player characters, subplots going on, my main plots, characters, towns. I can put all the characters in a town on a sub menu under the town. It is all so well organized and so intuitive. Everything you can do in this program just comes to you so naturally. Loremaster is also the first campaign organizer to really try reaching out to give Pathfinder 2e players a home. They have just integrated a customizable Pathfinder 2e stat block. Now you can make your own creatures right inside the Loremaster program. And it's still in beta. That's what blows my mind. All of this is still a closed beta. So if you want access to this closed beta, all you need to do is follow the link in the description to the Loremaster.io Patreon page. You can pledge there, and within 48 hours, your account, once linked to your Patreon, will give you complete access to all of their features. They do have a roadmap and are releasing new features constantly, so you can jump in at the ground floor and really watch this program expand. But even with what's already there, it has been amazing and useful, and I'm using it in both of the campaigns I am personally GMing, and it's made my life a lot easier. So click the link in the description and get to organizing your campaign the best way possible with Loremaster.io. Thank you so much, Loremaster, for sponsoring this video. Now, let's talk about the Ranger. Howdy. My name is Nonat, and welcome to part 2 of the Ranger Class Guide. Now, I know you've been waiting a little bit for this, but luckily it hasn't actually been that long. What do you mean it's been 2 months? Today we're going to be going over all of the feats I didn't cover in that video, namely the feats in the Advanced Player's Guide. And the reason I didn't get around to these ones is because they're a little different. Almost all of these feats are focus spells, which means they're going to take a little bit longer to go over. So don't worry, if you think this is going to be a short video, look at the timeline. It's not. But before we get into today, I would just like to ask you to please leave a like on today's video and subscribe if you haven't already. It all helps out tremendously, and when you leave that like button, it helps tell YouTube that, hey, maybe other people would like to see this video. So every single like is appreciated and helps us out going forward. So let's hop into this obnoxious video where I need to keep flipping back and forth because the feats just say, you get this spell. So I need to flip halfway through the book to read the spell, starting off with the level 1 feat, Gravity Weapon. Gravity Weapon is super simple. For one action, you grant yourself a buff for the next minute that whenever you deal damage with a strike, you deal bonus damage equal to double your weapon damage dice. This is nice. It's a one action, it's just on, you set it and forget it, and especially for something like a ranged weapon, this can help a lot because you don't get to add a modifier to something like a short bow. So suddenly 1d6 damage becomes 1d6 plus 2, which is nothing to sneeze at level 1. This doesn't scale amazingly, but hey, you know, when you get striking, that plus 2 becomes plus 4. Then you get weapon specialization, you get more damage die. It really does start to add up, and this will increase your consistent average damage by a really good amount for just one action and a focus point for an entire combat. It's not bad at all. Also at level 1, we have Heal Companion. Bet you can't guess what this does. This is honestly just the heal spell, but it can only be used on your animal companion. Now it's limited because the target can only be that one creature, but keep in mind, this is a focus spell. This means every 10 minutes at level 1, you can blast your animal companion for 1d8 plus 8 healing. Every 10 minutes. It's only going to have like 15 hit points, so if you roll a 6 or a 7, this thing's basically back to full. And this does scale just like the heal spell, and it's a focus spell, so it's automatic. Once you're level 3, you can just blast your animal companion for 2d8 plus 16 every 10 minutes. This is fantastic. Level 2, you can take Magic Hide. This is another awesome one-action set-it-and-forget-it focus spell. For one action, you grant your animal companion a +1 to AC for 1 minute. This can be a big deal. Again, AC in Pathfinder is not about avoiding attacks, it's about not getting critically hit. So that +1 could make a huge difference in your animal companion's survivability. If you have Heal Companion at level 1 and Magic Hide at level 2, this could be really, really strong. Wait a second. Animal Companion is a level 1 feat. You can't take Heal Companion till level 2. I mean, you can take Heal Companion, but you don't have an Animal Companion if you do that. And then at level 2, you can't take Magic Hide, because you need to take an Animal Companion. Why is Heal Companion a level 1 feat? I get that it's... This is weird design choice. You cannot take Animal Companion and Heal Companion at level 1. Snare Hopping! It's a focus spell! Snare Hopping is a lot less exciting. For 2 actions, you target one snare you have built within 10 feet of you and teleport it to an unoccupied square also within 10 feet of you. Now, if you could teleport it into an occupied square causing it to trigger, that'd be super cool. Be able to throw down like a 2d6 snare for 3 actions, then on the next turn teleport it under someone's feet. That'd be awesome. But no. And then whenever it heightens, the range increases by 10 feet, but it still has to be unoccupied. This doesn't seem great. What it could be useful for is if you can tell someone's gonna rush, like your wizard, you could teleport a snare in front of them, and that way, if someone wants to approach them, they need to step on the snare, or just sidestep it. I don't know. This seems like a lot of hoops to jump through, 2 actions and a focus point, just to move your snare 10, 20, 30 feet. At higher levels, it's better, being able to take a snare and move it 100 feet. That's pretty cool. But low levels, this isn't going to do much for you. 4th level, Animal Feature Focus Spell. For 1 action, 1 focus point, and for 1 minute, you grant yourself the feature of Unanimal. You can pick from the following. If you pick Cat Eyes, you get Low Light Vision. You can give yourself 1d6 Slashing Agile Finesse Claws. Or you can give yourself 1d8 Piercing Jaws. Then, if you are character level 7 or higher, and this has been heightened to 4th spell level, you get 3 more options. Fishtail, which gives you a swim speed equal to your land speed, Owl Eyes, which is full dark vision, and Wings. One of these things is not like the other. One lets you swim, one lets you see in the dark, and one just lets you fly for a minute. Can we talk about how Rangers can just get flight at level 7 now? For a minute? I thought it was insane that monks could get it for a minute at level 10. I didn't even know about this. What? Overall, not super exciting until level 7. Once you get flight, this becomes absolutely broken. If you have a long-range weapon, you can just take Animal Feature at the beginning of combat, give yourself flight for an action, fly up 30 feet, and just start shooting people from the sky for the entire combat. This is actually insane. You can also take the Hunter's Luck focus spell at level 4. This is an interesting one, and it's really good for the Recall Knowledge Monster Hunter Ranger. As a free action, if you are about to attempt to recall knowledge but you haven't rolled yet, you can roll twice and take the higher result. This is D&D 5e style advantage on Recall Knowledge. It's pretty good. Honestly, no complaints. Costing a focus point is a bit much, but if that's all you're using it for is just to ensure you can hopefully get those critical success recall knowledges for those wonderful bonuses for you and your allies, this is really great. Soothing Mist, a healing spell for the Ranger. This is sort of a weaker heal spell, but remember it's a focus spell, it auto-heightens and you get it back every 10 minutes. Not only does it heal one target for 2d8 hit points, but it also removes one type of persistent damage. If they are bleeding, it's gone. If they're on fire, it's gone. No check, nothing like that. If you cast this spell, that persistent damage is gone. What's cool as well is it can also be used against the undead to deal positive damage, which is a nice little bit of flexibility. Finally, if the undead fails their basic fortitude save, they actually take recurring persistent positive damage, which against the right undead can be huge because they'll often have a weakness to it. And remember that persistent damage does trigger weaknesses. If they have weakness 5 positive, that 2 persistent damage suddenly becomes 7. This spell doesn't scale super well though. Every 2 character levels, the healing and damage goes up by 1d8 and the persistent damage goes up by 1. It's rough because it starts at 2d8 at level 4, so by the time you hit, say, level 8, you're healing for 4d8 plus nothing. So sure, a potential 36 hit points at max. On average, you're going to be healing about 18, which for a focus point and 2 actions isn't great. But hey, a 30-foot range, you can't complain. If you need to get somebody up who's just been downed, this is a great option to do so. At level 6, we have a feat that is not a focus spell. It's been done. As a free action, if you critically succeed a recall knowledge check on a creature, you can recall knowledge again. Now this has to be on a different creature, but what's cool about this is the interaction between triggers and free actions. For each trigger, you can only take 1 free action, but you can take as many free actions per turn as you want. What this means is if you critically succeeded a recall knowledge, you can use additional recollection and recall knowledge on a different creature. If you critically succeed your recall knowledge on that creature, that is a new trigger, which means you can use another free action to additional recollection on another creature. Theoretically, if you're fighting 10 creatures and you crit succeed on all of them, you can recall knowledge on every single one for a single action, and that is fantastic. And then we have Ephemeral Tracking, another focus spell. This is an interesting one though, I really like this. For 2 actions, you enchant yourself for 1 hour, and now when you roll survival to track, you can also track things that have moved through water and air. Things that you would typically not be able to see, but thanks to this, you can see wisps of air that have been recently pushed aside by something moving through them, or water that has moved in a strange way recently to assist you in tracking something like fish, or birds, or fae, or something crazy like that. The one line here I don't agree with is the line that says the DC to do this is higher than normal. I feel like if my player wanted to try to track a bird or something or a fish, I would still allow that. I wouldn't require a focus spell and a higher DC to do so. Like, that's the point of the spell, is to make it easier to do. If you're gonna make the DC very hard anyway, why take the spell? I'd rather just roll survival on a whim and be like, GM, can I try? And I'll be like, sure, you can try. Not a big fan of that line, but otherwise I do really appreciate this, and if I was the GM and they used Ephemeral Tracking, I would reduce the DC needed to track them, not increase it. The last level 6 feat is Ranger's Bramble. Ranger's Bramble is basically a mini entangle that deals damage. You pick 1 5-foot burst within 100 feet that has plants in it. I'm assuming grass counts as plants, and you basically just need to be outside with some kind of plant life, but all creatures within the 5-foot burst basically are affected by Entangle, and if they fail their save against Entangle, also take 2d4 persistent bleeding damage in addition to the immobilization. It's nice, and escaping does not end the persistent bleed. They need to get rid of it like usual. Unfortunately, the area doesn't get any bigger as it scales. The persistent bleed damage does go up by 1d4 though, which that could stack up. As a level 9 spell, this would be doing what? 8d4 persistent bleed on a failed save? Not too shabby. Oh, it's on critical fail? It only bleeds on a critical fail? I'm less impressed. Level 8, we have Enlarged Companion. It's a focus spell. For 2 actions, Animal Companion become big. It's just like casting Enlarge at 4th level, but only on your Animal Companion. It does specifically become huge, though. It completely, even if you have a medium companion, it bypasses large and becomes huge, which is awesome and basically gives it automatic reach, which is going to be really fun to play with. Just don't use this inside. Hunter's Vision is another focus spell, so exciting to flip through the book again. Hunter's Vision is just a way to get around invisibility and concealment. For one action, you pick your hunted prey, and for the next 10 minutes, you and any allies sharing your hunt prey benefit get to ignore its invisibility. This basically just makes it so you and your allies don't need to make that annoying flat check to hit it, regardless of how it is hiding itself. The only caveat is that it can still hide behind solid objects. You can't see through walls with this.
Terrain Transposition is another focus spell.
Alright, this is actually a really, really cool one. Overall, I will be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of the Ranger focus spells. Some of them don't feel super impactful, and I just love the concept of the Ranger being a strictly martial class that it just uses its knowledge of nature to its advantage. But Terrain Transposition is really cool. For 2 actions, you can teleport up to 90 feet away by basically melting into the terrain and reforming elsewhere in the terrain. As a bonus, if you are in your favored terrain, the distance is doubled and you can teleport 180 feet. On top of that, if your animal companion is adjacent to you, you can touch them and bring them with you. Very nice. This is amazing on something like a 2-weapon Flurry Ranger with an animal companion. Imagine this, you take your bear or whatever is with you, and you teleport so you're directly next to an enemy for 2 actions. Then you can just command your animal companion to attack twice, and if you have the feat that makes it so if you're just adjacent, you're counted as flanking, you can do some nasty stuff with Terrain Transposition. Very fun. Warden's Focus is not a focus spell, but it is the standard feat that allows you to recover 2 focus points instead of just 1 by refocusing. And then Warden's Wellspring is the exact same thing, but for 3 focus points. Luckily, we are going to end this on 2 kind of big bangs, for the level 20 feats are not focus spells. We have Accurate Flurry, which requires Impossible Flurry as a prerequisite, which was a level 18 feat, and of course, you do need to be dual wielding. Accurate Flurry at level 20 is not all that exciting, unfortunately. I really just explained it for like 2 minutes, getting super hyped, and then realized I misread it. Normally in Impossible Flurry, you make 6 attacks at your full multiple attack penalty, which with agile weapons is going to be -2, non-agile is going to be -4. All Accurate Flurry does is allows your first 2 strikes to ignore one of the multiple attack penalties. So let me paint a picture. If you are dual wielding daggers, rather than attacking 6 times at -2, you'll be attacking twice at -1 and then 4 times at -2. It's not a big benefit. It's not bad by any means. It's a lot more useful if you're using non-agile weapons. If you have something like 2 long swords, rather than all of them attacking at -4, instead you've got 2 at -2 and then 4 at -4. So that's a little bit more of a bonus. That's a total of +2 on 2 extra attacks, which ain't bad, but it's not an incredible feat. You want to know what is a hilarious feat? Not necessarily super overpowered, but tons of fun? Impossible Snares. Once per minute, you can put down one of the snares you've prepared as a Snarecrafter Ranger, and it does not consume the snare. So long as you don't need to put down more than 1 snare per minute, you have infinite snares. This also means you can basically put down 2 snares per minute and it'll only consume 1. The only big different factor about this is that the free snare only lasts 10 minutes before falling apart. This is hilarious. This is absolutely hilarious, and I love this feat. I need to play a Snarecrafter Ranger. I seriously do. And that's actually it. For some reason, I expected this to take a whole lot longer. I mean, it was still 25 minutes of recording, but that's probably going to be like, what, a 16, 17-minute video? Hey, me, from the beginning of this video. If you think this is going to be a short video,
stupid.
Look at the timeline. I want to thank you all so very much for watching. I do want to give a huge shout out to my patrons for supporting me and everything I do. Thank you all so much for your generous donations every single month. I would not be where I am without you. And I want to thank you for liking this video because it does help us get out there with the algorithm. Final little plug today, because I do it every so often. We do have merchandise. If you are interested in No Nat One's merchandise, head over to nonatones.com/store, and we have some amazing characters with some amazing designs by Pataki Balaj, our artist. They're amazing. I have some. I'm going to be wearing it on stream soon. I love it. It's comfortable. It's stylish. It's just super cool. So if you're interested in getting some official No Nat Ones merchandise, check out the link in the description. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next time, No Nat Ones.